Hello and welcome to Social Media for Humans, the podcast that empowers you to do social differently. Your host, Alexis Bushnell, and her guests discuss their experience of social media as business owners, users, and ultimately humans, with insights and advice to help you find an effective and ethical strategy that works for you. Grab yourself a drink and join the conversation.
Hello. I am here with wonderful, talented Elaine. Tell me, who are you and what do you do?
So I am Elaine. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a stay-at-home mum and I'm an artist. I spend a lot of time drawing, painting and creating.
Mm-hmm.
That's me in a nutshell.
Sharing it on Instagram. Very talented.
And sharing it, yes.
Mm-hmm. So you are using sort of social media at the minute as a medium to sort of share your art. Yes. And how is that going for you? Was it scary initially to sort of put it out there?
It was an interesting thought process for me. I'm relatively new to Instagram. I started using Instagram because a social group that my son attends use it for advertising rides and things. So my child on Instagram, I want to know about that. Then my art began to take more of a focus in my day-to-day life, creating things, drawing things. And I wanted somewhere to share that. And I actually felt more confident presenting that to strangers than I did to my friends. So I then created my Instagram art account where I share all of my work, whether it's good or not so good. There are days when I go, oh, I'm not sure, but I think it has to be real. It has to be not just the good stuff. I don't filter very well on social media. I'm just like, there it is. Look, today this is this. It was great. Today this is probably not so good, but I've done it. And that's really what I use my Instagram account for. It's about sharing what I've done, the good stuff, the not so good stuff, and getting feedback from like-minded people, from people who might have an interest in art, who might create art, or just quite like the look of that today. That's quite nice. I like that. It's good. And for me, that felt safer than perhaps showing it to somebody I know well and them going, ooh. Yeah. Does that make sense? Or is that just a really weird thing to do?
No, I think that's understandable because especially if it's something you care a lot about, if you show it to somebody you really care about and they're like, oh, I don't know about this, you feel like you've lost a lot more than if some random stranger on the internet is like, well, I don't know if that's very good. Because you're investing in that relationship, aren't you? So no, I think that is understandable.
It feels a lot more personal if I show it to somebody that I know and care about, and they go, and yes, I want honest feedback, but it's less invasive, perhaps, getting that from or somebody just completely ignores it. Well, ignore it. If you don't like it, bypass. That's okay with me as well. Whereas I think in real life, I would take all of those negative things right to the heart. I don't like it.
Yeah.
So for me, Instagram is a really positive place. It's a place I share stuff that I like, that has made me happy. And if somebody else likes it, that's great. I tend to shy away from anything controversial, because there's enough of that in real life, and I don't want that everywhere I look. So for me, I use it as a positive place to go to share stuff, to look for things that's a good idea. I quite like that, or I could have a go at something similar, and that for me is probably the key focus of my Instagram use.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that, because there is definitely a dark side to Instagram. So do you feel like you choosing to put out positive stuff and engage with other people who are sort of focused on more creative, aesthetic, putting beauty out into the world, do you think that sort of brings more of that to you? Is that, do you feel like you're
absolutely, yeah,
a bubble, a community of positive art people?
Yes, yeah, I'm not looking, and you're right, I'm sure there is a dark and less pleasant side to Instagram. I think there are on all the social media platforms, but for me, I'm only engaging and looking for what brings me pleasure, and I hope that the people that I'm engaging with, the community that's building up around the work that I put out there, the contacts that I'm making, are all of a similar kind of personality. They're not people looking to bring that negativity into it. They're looking to enjoy things as well. You know, they share their art. If I don't particularly like that piece, I don't have to be negative about it, but I don't have to be effusive either, you know. And you're right, I think looking for the good brings the good back. I don't go digging deeper. I tend to avoid Twitter pretty much all the time, because it's just one rant after another. It's angry and it's aggressive, and I don't need that in my life, you know. And if that sounds a bit flimsy, you know, I'm well based in reality, but sometimes I don't want to be faced with that every single second. So I go onto Instagram and I go, this is the good stuff. This is the stuff I enjoy. I can get my news, I can get my other stuff from other platforms, and that's fine. But this is what I'm doing here.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's really important. I do think there is, especially like Twitter, with actually, I was saying on a previous podcast with my friend Hawk, actually, about how Twitter's like trending topics, I wish you could hide them, because it is so easy to, you see something pop up in the trending topics, inevitably it's a disaster. All of the comments in there are inevitably horrific, and you just get drawn into it because it's like, oh, it's there, it's popped up. Oh,
it's like a vortex. Yeah, it just pulls you in. So again, I have to have Twitter because it's a way of communication from my son's school. So I don't want to be, you know, I use it as a way of keeping track on that. Anything else, I'm like, just push it away. I don't need that, because as you say, sometimes I get lulled in, what's that? And then I look and I think, why have I done this? Just why am I doing this? And then I can feel myself either being frustrated or angry, or looking at comments and thinking, I'm furious at these people for even putting that out there. And if they really believe it, what sort of society is this? And it escalates. Yeah. I'm really cross with these people. So yeah, Twitter is not a place for me. I know some people love it, and actually I think some people enjoy that whole kind of it's almost, I want to say it's just trolling, but it's not. It's actually, it's deeper than that. It's just being nasty to get that rouse, and I don't like that. I don't like it.
Yeah.
No, it's not for me.
Yeah. No, I think it is healthy to be able to recognize that it has that you have that reaction to it, and to be able to say, like, I don't want to feel this way. I need to not engage with that platform. Because I think a lot of people, especially I think with Twitter, have that feeling of, if I don't use Twitter, then how, like, I will not be educated on these things. I won't know what's happening in the world. I won't know the news first. I won't, you know, be there. And I think, like, sometimes it's okay to not know first. It's okay to just be ignorant for a little bit.
Just fine. Let that filter in as it comes. You know, let's face it, there's so many different ways of picking up the news or world events now. Yeah, I don't need to be that first person there. It comes through anyway, you know, however you choose to pick that. So for me, I'm like, yeah, I'm keeping that at arm's length because it's better for me.
Yeah. That is very sensible, I think. Very wise.
And I find sometimes with Facebook, so I use Facebook and Instagram predominantly, but even with Facebook now, you know, I there are times when I think, I just can't be doing with this. It's becoming, again, and particularly over the last couple of years, but very, very political. And, you know, we all have our own political opinions. I'm not against those at all, but I think there are a time and a place for airing those, and I don't think a slanging match on Facebook or in a group here or there is necessarily constructive or the right place for that. So I quite like, recently I've seen lots of these little pop-up groups for a week whilst there's perhaps been a challenge or a course or something that I've signed up for. Great. And after a week it's all gone away, and then I don't have that. I have a little bit of I don't want to leave at the end, so if they take it away, then because I think I might miss something, and that I know is not good for me. So at the end of it, if they take it away, then I can draw that line under it, and I'm not going, oh, I've left that and I could be missing something that matters. Invariably I'm not, but I have to be very careful not to kind of slip into that, oh, I should be part of this and this and this and this, because suddenly I don't need to be part of all of that. I need to select what I want to be involved in, what motivates me, and then move on from that.
No, that's an interesting sort of side to that I hadn't thought about when it comes to sort of pop-up groups, because they are a really common thing now for people running challenges and events and things like that. But I hadn't thought of that sort of side to it, of like sort of avoiding the FOMO to a degree. That's really interesting.
Just do it, and then it's gone, and then you're not hanging on to because I tend to use, for me, Facebook started when I was living abroad, and it was a way of letting lots of people know what I was doing and where I was, and that was the life I was living at the time. And then it's evolved. It still tends to be a more personal place for me. So if I'm signing up to do something, I probably don't want it there forever. But you know, you I've got groups for this and groups for that, and you can get, you kind of in one and they go, oh, have you been in this group? Oh, I'll go and have a look, perhaps I should join. And suddenly I'm thinking, I actually really don't need to be part of all of this. But I'll just go and have a look. So, you know, I tend to find myself trying to work back and go, you can stop here, because this is what you've got in common perhaps with these people, and this is where you can share that, and then you can move away, rather than that I'll be part of this one and this one and this one and this one, and so it goes on and on and on.
I will say, like, the way I kind of, because I definitely fell down that sort of hole with groups when they initially started becoming quite a big thing, and I joined like all the groups, and what I ended up doing was I turned off notifications for all of them, and then after sort of a few weeks, I was like, right, which groups have I actually checked and which groups have I just not engaged with at all? Because clearly I don't need the ones that I have not engaged with at all. I am not missing anything.
No, and that's a really healthy way of doing it, isn't it? And it's a good way to go, what have I, you know, I know when I go onto Facebook, there are perhaps 3 or 4 groups that I check on. They're the groups that I'm either interested in what's going on in there, or I have more of a day-to-day relationship with, just to catch up who's doing what, and that they matter, and the rest of them, they don't really matter. And sometimes I'm like, I didn't even know I was still in that group. Oh yeah, okay, well that in itself is telling, isn't it? I'm not using this group, it probably doesn't really matter. And of course the last year with COVID, it's changed everything again. So lots of things that perhaps maybe at the beginning of last year would have been relevant going into the summer, they're not, you know, and actually they're not now, because we still don't know what's going to happen. We don't know where we're going to be. And even if things do unlock, I'm not going to be kind of rushing out there to be holidaying here, there and everywhere. I kind of want things to be a bit steady. But again, that's a very personal opinion, and I know lots of people can't wait to be out doing these things. But for me, I'll just sit back a minute. No, I'm with you. I will be I will be sticking with the stay-at-home vibe generally until things have settled down a little bit more. Yes. That's one of the things, you know, that everyday reality that we're dealing with. I don't deal with that through Instagram. That's my, you know, my art is my downtime, is my me time. I do that when I know that this one's doing that and that one's doing, and I can just stop. And it might, some days it might be half an hour, some days it might be a couple of hours, but that's leave me alone, please. And I don't want that kind of whole everyday chaos through that, because it's like, this is somewhere that's good for my head. My head needs this to be able to keep going, and I don't want to bring all of that into my Instagram. And I found it particularly easy to segment those things outside of it.
Yeah. I think if you are aware that you need that sort of brain space, and that sort of quiet, peaceful, pretty, beautiful, creative time is really benefiting you, I think it does make it a bit easier to be like, I am not going to engage in this stuff during this time, because I really need this time right now. So yeah, I think it is important, but I think some people, I think that it's kind of been complex during lockdown, I think, for a lot of people, social media, because it has given a lot of people connection and enabled people to sort of support each other. But at the same time, there's been I feel like the FOMO and the sort of the pressures of social media have increased because of the sort of the same things. So it has been it's been interesting for me to sort of watch things change and shift and how people are using it, and that has been really interesting. But it's definitely been a huge benefit, and also a huge sort of difficulty for a lot of people during lockdown.
Being as you say, I think not just Instagram, I think social media as a whole can just kind of suck the life out of you, can't it? It can just take away those good bits. So if you can kind of get your head around, this is good for me and this isn't, and I can keep, for me it's easy because I just compartmentalize it. This is this, and I'm not bringing those other bits into it, and I know that I need to do that to make it effective, for me. And I don't want to be constantly bombarded with all that, and what about this and this and this. And there is there is that kind of, I can do that here, but I can't do that here, and I definitely can't do it there. And it changes also quickly, doesn't it? But I think that the human contact has been important through lockdown for me, because there are just days and days and days where my other half comes in from work. That's great. That's an adult, but he's got that stuff going on. But the rest of it, I'm like, I've got the dog and a 10-year-old. He's great. I love them both, but they don't necessarily always, they don't give me my me time. Whereas this is like, look, I can be online and chat with this person and do that, and it's just a layer of not necessarily support, but just remembering that there is a world out there, that there are other people, and we're all going through this together, but in our own way. What's working for that person really isn't working for me, but this really has, certainly for me in this house, lockdown hasn't all been bad. There have been some really positive sides of it. So I'm taking that and being happy with it. I know lots of people won't have anything good to say about it because it's disrupted their life immeasurably, but I think you just have to accept that it is different, isn't it, for all of us? This one's okay, this one's not. And
I think that's actually one of the sort of dark sides, I guess, that's come out of social media during the pandemic generally, has been this sort of however the sort of the advice and the stuff that's come out that's like, you need to be doing this during lockdown, you need to be dealing with it in this way, you need to think about it like this, there is this one way to be going through it, as if everybody is in the same situation. And it's not. And it really frustrated me to see that on social media, because I was like, this is an opportunity for social media to come into its own and be like, well, let's have a community of people over here who are dealing with these things in this way, and a community over here of people who are dealing with it differently, and these people who are dealing with a different thing. And instead, it just kind of doubled down on the stuff that we'd had before of like, there is one way to do everything and it suits everybody, and if you're not doing it this way, you're doing it wrong. And I was just like,
yeah, actually,
oh, no,
it's
no.
it's very prescriptive, and of course life, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that for us day to day, let alone now. And yeah, that kind of look, it didn't work last time, and just because things are a bit upside down in the world, it's not going to work now. You can't bring that back and just keep telling us that. I found it less on Instagram because I'm not looking for that. And if anybody's kind of spouting stuff that says you have to do this and this and this, you're not really for me. So I'm not going to engage with you or follow you because I don't need to. But I found Facebook worse for that, and I found lots of people ranting and you know, and I'd read it and think, oh golly. First of all, it's probably not the most constructive place to put those feelings, because actually it's damaging not just to you but to your family. The things that you're putting there, you've got to get it off your chest. I get that, but perhaps not in a public domain. You know, and then of course everybody piles in and says, well, you should do this and you should do this, and why are you not happy doing it? Because life isn't one size fits all.
Yeah.
But I found loads and loads of that on Facebook, which again made me kind of, I'll just step back from it a bit, you know, and I tend to go on now and go to my groups and see what they're doing, and then you know, step away. I don't need to just be endlessly looking, because it, you know, I'll come away feeling worse than I did before I went on, and that's not good, is it? That's not what it's about.
No, that is not the aim of the game. No, we do not want that. No. No. I do think people find it difficult to step away though, and it is testament to you, I think, that you have been able to recognize those things, that like, this is not good for me, that is not good for me, and I am going to actually just step away from it and be like, no, I'm good. I'll come back to this at some
I'll think about it.
I'm okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everybody needs to sort of have that conversation with themselves about, like, how do I feel before I go on X platform, and how do I feel after, and even during. Because as much as like there is difficult stuff that we do need to think about and look at, we don't need to be thinking about it all the time. We also need a break.
Yeah, we, you know, as human beings, just to only hear the negative all the time is bad for us. It's bad for me, you know. And I know that, as I said before, I'm well based in reality. I know what happens in the world. I know the bad stuff and I know the good stuff. For me, it's finding that balance. It's going, I can do this and feel happy about where I'm at with it. Don't get me wrong, there are days where I forget that this is not actually doing me any good. But I'm human. That at the end of the day, and then I come off and I think, oh, why did you bother? You know, why? But you know, okay, I've done it, and let's just move away from it. I just don't think. I've lost my train of thought. I just don't think all that negativity all the time is good for anybody. But I also think if you're struggling and you can't have that kind of insight that this is not doing me any good, it's an ever decreasing circle, isn't it? You can't walk away from it because you feel you have to just engage in it, and then everything spirals, just gets worse and worse. You know?
Yeah. I do notice actually that when my mental health starts to sort of crash, that is one of the signs, is that I am on Twitter more, and I am reading every bad news article, and I am like, oh, the world is awful. Literally everything is awful in the world. Absolutely 100% of it. There is no good at all. And the sort of trying to intervene with myself and be like, just step away. Just step away. It's so difficult, because then there is this guilt complex that kicks in of like, well, if you don't want to read it, then you don't care about it, and you don't want to be someone who doesn't care. And it's like, that's not what that means. That's really not what that means.
Yeah, actually, I need to give myself a break. But again, you're sucked in, aren't you? You can't not do it sometimes, and it's, as you say, it's not healthy, it's not good for you, but it's an indication that perhaps, you know, it really is time to put everything down and, go and
Take
do
a week off.
yeah, go and do the homeschooling for me. Oh, great.
Well, yes, coming to the homeschooling then, because you are a stay-at-home mum at the moment, but you are creating art with a view to sort of get back into the workplace in some capacity in the future.
Yeah.
So how are you creating your social media, I guess, with that sort of in mind?
This is a tricky one. I think I have lots of different ideas about routes this could take, that may or may not make it something that can produce income in the future. If it does, brilliant. And if it doesn't, actually, that's okay too, because I'm enjoying what I'm doing. Primarily, that's the key, that I'm enjoying it. If I'm not enjoying it, I don't want to do it. How am I making my social media? At the moment, it's about the art. It's about creating the paintings. The people that I'm connected with on social media are artists. They're people that create. They're people that are naturally curious about the arty way of the world. So I don't know that they will be the audience I need moving forward, because if I want to sell to them, they're creating their own stuff. So it's not perhaps right now for the audience I have for my social media group. It's more about learning, sharing, seeing what people are doing, looking for different things to challenge me, to inspire me. I'm not always very good at sitting down and thinking, I'm just going to paint something. What? That's the first thing. What? I quite like. I like these challenges. I like people that say, let's focus on this for a week, or we're going to do this and try that. Those things are really good for me because they make me think differently. And then I can think about those things and put them down on paper. If I wanted to take this forward onto a different platform, onto perhaps selling or making things to make money, I don't know where I would go with that right now. I've had different thoughts about, perhaps painting cards and having them printed up, or bespoke cards. This last few months, for friends and things, instead of buying cards, I've been painting cards, but painting at a very personal, something that's relevant to them. Now, I'm not sure that there are legs in that as a long-term investment, but it's a nice way to just get into sharing something that I've created that has a personal touch. Maybe it will come in the form of, look, somebody emails me or DMs me and says, look, can you paint this? I can do this, or you've seen what I can do so far. I could paint it in my style, in the way that I can do it to the best of my ability. If it's good enough, great. Hopefully somebody will pay me to do it. But if it's not, then, there has to be some sort of, and this is, I suppose, what I've got to think about, there's got to be some sort of framework that supports that, and then I have to grow the people on my social media that will want to buy that kind of thing, and I don't know how I would do that. I think that will be tricky. It will happen, she says. It will.
It will. Think positive.
These things will all work their way out, and something, it might not be quite clear in my head yet, but there is something clearly kind of coming together, thinking about it, different thoughts. I think I need perhaps to know a bit more in my mind where I'm going, to then focus on getting the right audience on Instagram. You
might find that it just naturally evolves, though. I mean, if you're sort of at the moment, if you're using it for like education and inspiration and that kind of thing, you might find that it just naturally goes a certain way, and that as your art develops and you take part in certain different challenges and different things, and find sort of where your niche is, if you like, and the things you specifically enjoy, you might find that you just naturally do start growing an audience who like that, your specific style, and that sort of thing.
I think, yeah, I think these things evolve, don't they, in time. Everything changes. And when I first started, you know, my art pages, really, I was doing all of my art in my journals. So they were just little sketches, and it kind of quite quickly evolved into something that actually I don't want to just do it in my journal, because I really like that piece. And so now it's all done either in a sketchbook, or it's you know, on loose leaf paper, but, you know, proper paper, not just printing paper.
Real paper.
Real paper. But you know, it has evolved so quickly from a few sketches, or I quite like doing that, to actually I really am enjoying this, and I want it to be better than it was, you know, something I want to make better for myself. I find it really interesting to look back from where I started to where I am.
Yeah,
that's it's a really nice record, because you can go, oh my god, that was just, you know, look at that. But you know, we all grow, we all learn. For me, I love having that kind of scroll down and go, oh my gosh, you know. But you know, I did a piece of work last week, and I posted it on both of my accounts. One account, it got 60 plus likes, and the other, it got 211 likes. And it's like, okay, this is the same piece of work. One account's got 60 or 70 followers. It's, you know, and one account's got 200 and ish, you know, but it was the one with the smaller amount of followers that got the massive hit. I kind of came back to my friend and went, oh my gosh, what's happened here? What am I hoping? But
I use different hashtags.
No.
Oh,
I used exactly the same hashtags. And because you know, if you've got more than one account, you can just tag them, can't you? So I posted it onto my, you know, got it all ready to post onto the art one, and tagged. I thought I'll put it on both, and it was really, really interesting to see how kind of one just shot off one way, and it was like, oh, okay, that's yeah, I found that really interesting.
Yeah. Wow.
Obviously a different I don't know. I
Yeah,
didn't think it was
a different audience. It might have been tailored slightly more towards one audience than the other.
No, it was the same hashtag, same thing.
Yeah, but I mean, if you, because you'll have slightly different audiences on
yes.
each account.
Yes,
so perhaps it resonated slightly more with people on one account than the other.
Yeah. Anyway, I found that. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe I should put other stuff there, switch it over a bit.
And why not?
You know, I got it muddled up. It's happened.
Yeah. Fortunately, it has never happened to me yet. I'm sure it will at some point.
Post. Oh, no, not there. Off. Delete. I can't get off.
That is the wrong person. That is the wrong client.
Yeah, of course, it's very different with clients. But yeah. In fact, I've sent emails before and gone, oh, golly gosh, sorry, that's not quite where that was meant to be going.
Oh,
it happens.
It does. We are but human.
Yes, indeed. I'm going to hold on to that thought. Yes. I'm not infallible. These things happen.
Yeah.
Accidents happen. It's okay.
Yeah. I want to ask you about sort of confidence on social media, because last year you joined in with one of my Instagram challenges. And one of the challenges was about sort of going live and posting video. And I remember I think it was the third day, it was about posting a video. Yep. And you were very much like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can be on video. Oh, I don't. And then on the sort of the go live day, I went live in my Facebook group.
I did.
And I was like, I'm sorry, who is this woman? Who is this person going live when she said she couldn't do video?
I didn't think I could, but there was an element of feeling safe in the group, and I still struggle with the thought of going live. Yeah. and sometimes I think perhaps that would be really cool, just to hop on, show somebody, and then I bottle out every time. But I quite like the whole reel thing. I think I need to work, because it just drains my battery if I do it in real time, because I'm not, as you know, you see them all finished and they're like, great, but I've got to do all this bit in the middle, and that's real time, and I can't do it that quickly, and then the phone's dead. So I need to work harder at learning how to use the software to manipulate that to just then upload it. And I have it. It's just something I need to work harder on doing, because I quite like reels and little bits.
Yeah, so you do seem to have sort of grown in confidence, not just in like sort of videos, but generally speaking on social media. You seem more comfortable, I guess, in using it.
I think part of that is demonstrated by some of the people that are in my Facebook community, my group. I see them using Instagram. I see them using it, and I see how they use it, and perhaps they've debunked some of that fear that, you know, it felt enormous the first time I kind of did that. I was like, oh my goodness, you know, and actually there was a real, oh, my heart's going, and I've got to try and do this. And it's good to push yourself, you know, it really is. But I do think that seeing other people using different methods of presenting their work, what they're doing, just what what matters to them in that moment, has perhaps encouraged me to be a bit more brave, to kind of face some of those fears and try different things. And I know actually, even in the way I put my post now, whereas before I would just post it, I try now to put a little bit of an explanation or something that gives a little bit of context to what I've done, rather than just, here's my art for today, which was fine. But actually, if I want to engage with people, it has to be a two-way thing. I have to give something, otherwise it won't work. It won't ever build. And I do think that that's a nice way to just start introducing a little bit more of me, as in my personality, into this is what I'm, you know, this is the art, but actually this is why I've done this, or this is a bit about it, or where I've got the idea from. So I am trying to build my experience, but also to utilize these things that are available within social media to me.
Yeah. No, I think it's really nice, sort of, and it's really nice for me to see as well, because I started following you quite early on. So it's been nice to sort of see you gain that confidence and grow, and how your presentation of your content has changed. And it is, I think they do say that sort of courage is, what is that saying? Courage is contagious. That's the one.
Yes.
Courage is contagious.
But the first Instagram challenge I did was yours, and actually I haven't really done any others, but that really, it pushed me to think about it in a different way, you know, and it pushed me to look at, okay, well, what if you did do this? Okay, well, it might not have been perfect, but it didn't fall apart, did it? And I think sometimes, again, for me, I need somebody to go on, do it, and just kind of, I suppose it's to hold me accountable. You've signed up for this, you said you're going to do it, now do it. Because otherwise I'm like, oh, it's a bit scary, or I'm not really sure how to put this together, so I just won't. You know, and that's the honest truth. I kind of get what they're talking about, but I'm not sure, so I don't do it. And that's, maybe that's laziness. Maybe I should push myself to say, learn how to do it then. But sometimes it's easier just to step back, you know, and you know, it's great talking about all this, but alongside all of the stuff about me, I do have life. You know, we all do. But I do have a bit of homeschool and a dog walk.
Yeah.
You know, but I do those things. And in many ways, I'm very fortunate, because I'm not under any pressure to have to go out and earn. You know, I have this time that I can create that I can share things with my family. And I know that not everybody's that lucky. So I accept that, but I want to try and make the best of it. I don't just want it to bypass me.
Yeah.
That's it. So.
I think that's nice, and it's that's another thing I think that has come out of lockdown that actually I was sort of talking to you about before we started recording, about that sort of feeling of I am so lucky to be in this situation, but it is still hard.
Yes.
And that sort of complex sort of emotions that go along with that, because you don't want to sort of complain, but you also are like, oh, this is difficult.
Yeah, it is, and as you, it's also very, I think, social media is all about being outside looking in, isn't it? You're it's almost voyeuristic, because you're looking at what somebody else wants you to see, and most people put up the good stuff. They don't put up all the bad stuff. So kind of on the flip side, there's lots and lots of negativity, but then the good stuff that you see is almost too good. Oh God, well, I'm not achieving that, or I can't. How have they got so much together? And oh my God, I've just about managed to get out of bed and feed us today. There is that fear of failure as well. That I've got. I'm very fortunate. I'm in a really, really good position. There are still things that have been difficult through lockdown, but then you look around and other people are going, well, and I've done this and this and this and this, and you think, oh my goodness, gosh. So I suppose in every facet of social media, there are positives and negatives, aren't there? It's about looking for the good, for me, looking for the good stuff, finding something that makes me feel a bit happier, that has a dose of reality, but not a dose of negativity every time I look at it. That is key, I think.
Yeah. No, I agree. That's a wonderful point to end on.
Yes, indeed.
Look for the positivity.
There you are. It's out there.
It is. That is true.
It really is.
So tell everybody where they can find you and this positivity that you're putting out into the world.
So you can find me at Sparkly Painter on Instagram.
Very good.
That is me.
I will put links in the show notes and all the places so people can get you very easily.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
If you want more regular reminders to find your own way to use social media, follow Alexis on your social platform of choice. All the links will be in the show notes. Until next time, be a human.